My name is Simon Teller. I'm 52 years old and married with 2 children. I run a software company specialising in business solutions. A year ago, I set up the Teller Foundation, a fund that awards grants to charities working on new technologies to help the developing world. So far, the foundation has awarded grants to help improve the lives of some of the world's poorest people. However, a year ago, I knew nothing about philanthropy. I just knew that I wanted to make a difference. Everyone's philanthropy journey is different. Okay. This is mine.
Simon, thanks very much for joining me. It's been a pretty amazing couple of years for you. You're here to talk about the Teller Foundation. How did you get your inspiration?
Well, from a place I least expected, my own family. My daughter Sophie had been travelling in Africa for 6 months, and she was working in a children's hospital getting some experience before she started her medical degree.
Africa is a difficult environment for somebody who's had all the home comforts around them. How did she cope?
Well, as you've said, it is a difficult environment, and Sophie definitely said that she'd had a pretty tough time, but she'd loved it anyway. And I was picking her up from the airport and very excited to see her. I, unfortunately, at her age, wasn't able to travel around the world like her, so I was really excited to see her again and ask her all about the trip. It sounded like it had been a really hard job, but she'd really enjoyed herself. And yet I sensed some frustration that there was still a lot of work to do. It was an unfinished job.
She sounds like a very tenacious young woman.
Oh, she's wonderful, gregarious, hard-working, very driven girl. Infectious.
Nice to meet you. Yo, bro.
When we got home, we all were very happy to see her naturally. But it was later that evening, as we were looking at some photos of her work in the hospital, that I realised how important this trip had been for Sophie. She talked with passion about the challenges that the patients there faced, and she talked about the suffering of the children. That had really affected her. As we looked at the photos together, I realised how lucky we all are. And, you know, we've always been healthy, and obviously, you know, most of us are aware that, you know, there are people less fortunate than ourselves in the world. But it had a profound impact on us, hearing it firsthand from my daughter. She spoke with such passion and conviction about what she'd been doing that my wife and I felt really humbled. That night I couldn't sleep thinking about the images that Sophie had shown us and what it must have been like for her working in those conditions. Even though she was back home, obviously Sophie still wanted to try and help the people that she'd been treating. Now, I've been giving money, I guess, all of my working life to charities to help a little bit, but I'd never really felt a personal connection in the way that Sophie had. And I felt inspired by her dedication and wanted to find out what it was that I could do. I really felt I should be doing more. I knew nothing about medicine, but there was something so striking about Sophie's story that I felt driven to do something about it. And I did the one thing that would change my life forever.